The video you're about to watch next is totally concerning and surrounding this piece of rock. This piece of rock isn't actually rock. What it is, it's actually the best coal that's ever been produced throughout the world. This can be found basically in the region of Pennsylvania. This is called anthracite coal. It is known to have burned longer and hotter than your normal coal. So there's a big demand for this back in the day. Now, we went on I got this as a souvenir from a place called Ashland, which is in Pennsylvania. It's only 2 kilometers away from the mining town Centralia, which a coal mine fire under the ground pretty much devastated the entire city, the entire town. There's about 5 to 6 people left living in the town today. But anywho, this is the anthracite coal. This is what fueled the times back then. That was a big money maker back then. It was what made the community thrive. So again, without further ado, we're going to be taking a mine tour in the Pioneer Tunnel in Ashland.
I'm a coal mining man, I'm a coal mining man, pick and shovel in my hand, I'm a coal mining man.
Underground in the ground, in a dreadful moaning sound, as the mountain started shaking, timbers breaking, coming down. Now the walls are closing in, and the air is getting thin, as I contemplate the end of a coal mining man. I'm a coal mining man, I'm a coal mining man, pick and shovel in my hand, I'm a coal mining man. If I die down in this mine, digging Fairmont number 9, bury me right where I stand, I'm a coal mining man. She knows that I'm trapped down in this mine. Keep her near and dry her tears and hold her trembling hand. The young hand held the heart of this coal mining man. I'm a coal mining man, I'm a coal mining man, pick and shovel in my hand, I'm a coal mining man. If I die down in this mine, digging Fairmont number 9, bury me right where I stand, I'm a coal mining man. Like my father and my brothers and the others gone before, we dig coal that we can't go till there ain't no coal no more.
How are we doing today, folks?
Good, thank you.
My name is Tony. I'm happy to be your tour guide today. I'd like to start out by welcoming everybody to Ashland. This old mine we're in here was an actual operating coal mine. The section we're going to tour today operated from 1911 through 1931. The reason it closed in 1931 was because of the Great Depression. It was reopened as a tourist attraction here in 1962. Our mine was formerly owned and operated by the Philadelphia and Reading Coal and Iron Company. This section of the mine employed 35 men, 10 mules, and a handful of young boys. They were able to produce 400 tons of coal daily with that little bit of manpower. Now what they did, they drove this tunnel north to south through the solid rock. The reason they did that, veins of coal in this region run east and west. So by driving that tunnel north to south, they knew they could access all the different veins on their way through. The reason why we stopped here, this is the mammoth vein of coal that we're sitting in the middle of, and it is the largest vein of anthracite coal in the world. It is 50 feet thick in this location. 50 feet of coal starts right there on that rock where my hand's at. That's called the bottom rock, and it runs all the way out there to that first set of timbers where my light is shining. It also follows that bottom rock on about a 60-degree pitch for 400 feet out to the surface of the mountain. It then travels down an additional 2,000 feet where it basins underneath the town of Ashland, and it will assume that same 60-degree pitch and come up in the mountain 2 miles north over near Centralia. If you go about 3 miles off to the west of here, this vein opened up to be around 200 feet thick. It's a very large piece of coal. Now what we're going to do, folks, is take a ride the rest of the way in the tunnel here, and we're going to hop off the cars and walk around into some of the gangways. Now what the gangways are, those are the passageways the miners blasted out to follow the veins of coal going east and west. Okay? Any questions up to this point?
Yes, how did they know where these veins were, as they went? Did they just find them as they kept going?
I'm going to explain a little bit more about that when we get in the tunnel. Yep. Okay. Here we go. Steam mills in the late 1800s, called steam operator, and then eventually compressed air boat. Yeah, it was. And a lot of times if you're going through rock, you use a star bit hammer. You ever seen one of those? They use those to drive a lot of the railroad tunnels.
Yeah.
You'd hit it, turn it, hit it, turn it. Yeah. You know. But those guys, that's what they did. I mean, they could go with a sledgehammer like it was jackhammer. I mean, trust me. If you were the guy holding the bit, you had to trust the guy swinging the hammer too. So, wow. I mean, yeah, that's why a lot of people were, killed in the early days of the coal mining. When they first started, using dynamite, nitroglycerin, it was the Irishmen to go down there, light the fuse and run before they had battery boxes and things like that. So, all right, the first tour this morning, they drilled 6 holes down in there, tamped them with dynamite, and they wired it up. Who wants to fire the cut? I need a volunteer to do that if you want to get paid at the end of the tour. You?
Me?
Yeah, go ahead, fire it.
Yes. Oh, love the dynamite.
Now, a little bit of safety first. There could be somebody down there taking a nap.
Oh, yes.
Eating a sandwich, we don't know. So you want to yell fire in the hole as loud as you possibly can, then pick the handle up and fire.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
So yell it.
Yep, fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole. And then.
How'd you do? Did you hear 6? I heard 6.
Yeah, I heard 6. Yeah, I had to process that.
Good job. The mountain's still standing here. Right down this way.
He was good, eh? You can't see anything down there,
Yeah, I
huh?
have no idea. That's why it's just my Facebook about all the.
Yep, go ahead.
Yep. This is another manway. I'm going to talk about that one because what does the sign there say? Exit. Right. If something were to happen out in the main tunnel, that is the only other way out of here. 400 feet to the surface. It's about a 15-minute climb. In the wintertime, we have to drag our material up there when we are retimbering the same way the coal miners did 100 years ago by hand. It is pretty labor intensive. Now, I will level off with you here. We're not going to expect small children and elderly people to crawl out to the top of the mountain, but it does enable a local mine rescue team another way to get down here if they had to. We have never actually used that for rescue purposes in 55 years, and hopefully, knock on wood, today will not be the first, right? That's also our air ventilation shaft. Everybody, when you come by here, you're welcome to look up in there with this light. Just the last person, please switch it off then on the way through. Over here, folks. This is an old empty chute. The battery is still in place up there. Now, remember back there at the diagram when I told you that they would be standing on top of the coal they blasted out, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you were a contract miner getting paid by the ton and you weren't moving coal out of your chute, guess what else you weren't doing? You weren't making any money. So they would flow coal as often as they possibly could. But they were actually standing on the work is plank like what you see there. If you slipped and fell up there at the face, chances were you were going to take a ride all the way down to this gangway. It was very dangerous work working up in those chutes and those headings.
Well, it looked, from your chart, it looked like the guy was trapped in there, as the coal was below him.
It does look like he's trapped, but what you have to remember is there's a 6-foot space there at the end of the day. So when you come in the morning, you have 6 feet that you blasted out. Your first job actually would be to dress the face off,
Yeah.
okay, make sure that there's nothing's going to come down on top of you. Then you would put your timber in 6 feet, you'd build that box in a chute up 6 feet, build your ladder up 6 feet, then you start drilling.
Wow.
And that's how they would advance it. It's actually called to be technical, it's called the full box, full breast method.
Can't see nothing.
No, because you're gonna get out of there before you fire. Yeah. Now, see, that's the idea of the heading. But see, now being up in that chute, I know we've done a lot of work up in there. They were in such a hurry in here to get to the top. They used a method that was called dog bone. They stopped driving headings, and what they would do, they would blast a piece out of the vein, big enough for the 2 guys to get in. They would set their shots up top, and they would get in there, fire it, and let the coal run past them. Wow. That's amazing. Okay, we can look down the wishing well here. This is an example of what it's like to look down one of the chutes that goes 300 feet all the way down to the 2nd level of the mine. So if you were standing up there in that chute and turned around, that's about what you would see. No, I've never been down there.
Oh, there is. Oh, there it is.
Right in the end here, gang.
1963, 66, 62. Minor foreman.
Oh my God, it's like.
Oh, neat.
Oh, that wasn't even close to the hack.
Whoa!
Matt, you're dude.
Hey, Penny, see the guy down there? He's the one that caught the coal.
Okay, now we're on the end of the gangway here. I'll explain how we load the coal up and get it out of here. You have a laborer up on the platform there. His feet were normally dangling into the buggy. And the reason is when he pulls the board out there, all that coal's going to come running down out of the chute. It's going to get so dark and dusty in here, he's not going to see when the car gets full. The only way he's going to know when the car is getting full is when the coal comes up and begins to bounce off the bottom of his boots. Also, on his hat, he's going to be wearing that open flame oil wick lamp. One serious problem being in the gangway here with the open flame lamp, if you got into a pocket of methane, there was no warning, just one very violent explosion. On the other hand, if you got into black damp, this would happen. It would snuff your life.
Whoa!
Now, just to give you an idea, here's the amount of light that a modern LED mining lamp gives off. That's not too bad, right? Lights the gangway up pretty good. Here's the old oil wick lamp. Right. Yes. Yep. Amazing. Anybody want the lights back on?
Yes.
Some people will give us an emphatic no. One last thing before we head out of here, folks. When that car was full, they would bring a mule in here, hook him up to the 4-ton car, and lead him out to the end of the main tunnel. Out near the end of that main tunnel, there's a hill there. If you're paying attention to the placards on the way in, the names of the veins, near the Primrose vein. It's about 3.5% grade. Now what they would do, they would unhook the mule on top of that hill and let the car go sailing down. The only problem is, folks, in haste to get all the coal out, they neglected to engineer one thing into the old wooden mine cars. Anybody want to guess what that would be? Brakes, right. This piece of wood right here is called a sprag. This job was for the 11-year-old boys that could run fast. They were affectionately known as runners. They'd be standing there in the tunnel waiting for the car to come down. They'd run up alongside of it, jam that into the spokes of the wheels. It'd come around, hit off the bottom of the body on the car, and it would just jam the wheels up, slow the car down, and bring her to a nice, gentle stop, right? No.
In theory.
In theory, right. If you made a mistake on your first day of on-the-job training, let's say you slipped and fell or you stuck your hand in too far, ouch! A lot of boys in Patchtown had the nickname Lefty. It does slope back up to slow the cars down. There's another set of boys standing on top of that hill, and their job is to pull the sprags out, line the cars up in front of the door. Let's say your buddy Tommy misses down here when he throws his sprag, or the sprag breaks in half. That car is going to come up over top of that second hill at 10 or 15 miles an hour. I know that doesn't sound very fast, but when you are standing in the dark and you have nowhere to go, yep, ouch. A lot of times those boys be caught in between the cars or thrown up against the timber. Okay?
Ow.
Now, fortunately, nobody was ever killed on this level of our coal mine. The only deaths associated with this level of the coal mine are due to black lung disease. Does anybody have any questions?
Wouldn't the dust itself be ignited when with those lamps?
Yes. Not necessarily in an anthracite coal mine. Okay. Anthracite coal dust isn't quite as flammable because there's not as much gas in it. Now, if you had gas in it, methane, absolutely. Okay. That's why you had a lot of black lung disease in the anthracite coal mines, because it was like inhaling glass, just like inhaling pieces of fiberglass.
Wow.
Yep. Good anthracite coal is light, and when you drop it, it shatters like a Coke bottle. It shatters like glass.
Now, why does it burn longer and hotter?
Because of the carbon content.
Is that right, eh?
Yes.
It's only found out through this area?
96% of the world's anthracite is in this area. There is some anthracite in Wales, there's some in Germany, some in China, but 96%. And the stuff that's in the rest of the world is not the quality of the stuff that you find here in 600 square miles here in Pennsylvania.
That is cool.
Besides heating, is there any other good use that has been found?
Yeah. Some of the steel mills use it now. They extract the carbon out of it. The bad thing about anthracite for use in a steel mill is it doesn't coke. There's too much carbon to make coke. But some of the steel mills, like up in Canada, they figured out how to burn it now, to put air to it, and it's cleaner than burning coke. So they do use it for that. It's been used in pigment. The dust is used in charcoal. Power plants in the area here actually burn the waste material from years ago. They would throw away all the rice coal, which is the small stuff, and the buckwheat. They'd throw all of that away into the gob banks, into the cone banks. Well, now they take them in, and rice coal is the most popular size now for the automatic stoker stove, so they actually screen the rice coal out, and number 5 goes to the power plants. So, yeah. I mean, no matter what you hear or read, you cannot plug a light bulb in this country without coal being involved somewhere, and it'll always be that way. You can never build enough windmills or tap enough natural gas to make up that gap. I don't believe. Any other questions? And anthracite coal is fairly clean too. The only fossil fuel that burns cleaner than anthracite coal is natural gas. We're running our steam engine. You will not see smoke coming out of the stack. A little bit if I'm burning the fire rich, but for the most part it burns smokeless.
So is there a future for coal anymore, or?
It's hard to say. It's not up.
It doesn't sound good right now, but.
Well, it sounds better now that China stopped buying coal from North Korea.
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay, we have a couple of our coal companies here, guys were laid off, and now they're being called back to work, so. The Chinese are invested in Blashock Coal Company. So, they love our coal because it's clean. Is there a future? Yeah, I think there's a future.
Well, I heard they wanted to close down all the coal industry and stuff like that because of the pollution.
The only problem with that is, like I just said, it sounds good, but we don't. What other natural resources are going to use to make up that gap? It's not there. It's just not there. I mean, those windmills over there on that wind farm, you could not power the whole valley with all those windmills.
I don't know if that's the same coal though. Barbecue coal? Is that
No,
the
that's
same? Okay.
barbecue coal is charcoal, and basically what that is
I tried to make a.
you take wood, you take your wood there. There is some coal mixed in with that. They use coal dust, number 5, and they mix that with your charred wood and to make the briquettes. Yeah. Real charcoal, like the Cowboy brand in the bag, that's just wood that's burned down and they cool it down before it goes out and make, A lot of good questions, but
And you talked about safety, it's so important down here for these people. Today, when they mine, how is it radically different? Is there anything you can tell us, like, I mean,
It's
boring
really-
machines?
No, it's really not. In an anthracite mine, it's really not radically different. You would see, if you were to go into an anthracite coal mine today, and there is only like 9 of them, you would see what you see here. You'd see timber, you'd see guys drilling, you would see, I mean,
Better drilling machines, but I mean,
yeah, but
the gases are still down there.
there's still gases there, there's better ventilation. They have better ventilation up to the face. Okay, they pipe fresh air up to the face, but it's still, it would look just like this. I mean, it would look.
Yeah.
There were 2 mines in the area here where they were able to use a continuous miner. One was over in Mount Carmel, which was the closest mine to us, because the vein rolled on about a 20-degree pitch. It was, you know, geologically, that's where it ran, and it rolled there. And he used that machine for a while. And then down in the Williamstown area, they were also able to use a continuous miner. But most of the mines in the area, it's just too much for the machine to handle.
Did you ever run into veins of water that were really troublesome? I mean, that.
Well, I wasn't a miner, but,
No, but I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
absolutely, yeah. If you, especially nowadays when you open a mine, a lot of times if the maps aren't accurate and they would blast into old workings, if those old workings are full of water, you're going to get flooded. That's what happened out at Cue Creek in western Pennsylvania back in the early 2000s. There wasn't supposed to be water there, but there was, and it actually what it did was it filled the low point in the mine where it was a drift like this,
Yeah.
and it filled the hump.
Wow.
And it
Wow.
was coming in.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yep.
So
Water is always a problem. Yep.
in Centralia, with that fire going on for so long, is there anything left over there, or there is still? I thought that's been following the vein and it's moved on.
This vein right here is the vein that's burning in Centralia.
Oh, is that right, eh?
Yes, the Buck Mountain vein. That's the vein the fire started on. Now, I'll give you a little insight on that, on what's going on over there. Now, the coal vein is solid. Okay, so in order for that vein to burn all the way through, it has to be broken up to get oxygen in there to support combustion. So, the middle of the vein is still good. Okay, so a byproduct of digging out the Centralia mine fire is, when you are pulling up the material that's burning, you are bringing up millions of tons of perfectly good coal. All right? Now, one of the reasons why some of the people didn't want to move and still don't want to move is because Centralia is in Columbia, not Schuylkill County. Centralia owns the mineral rights to their property. They own that coal, it's theirs. Okay? And it's, yeah, will they ever profit from it? No, but it is a matter of principle, I believe.
And that's why some of them don't want to move. They think it's conspiracy or something with the government?
Centralia sits on top of what's probably one of the largest deposits of anthracite coal in the world.
So what do you think when these last 4 people die off and the government takes over that city? Do you think that they're going to continue mining there, or?
I think so. If the demand's there. The demand was there back in the 70s and 80s when the people held out. You also got to realize that fire only ever burned into the first 3 blocks of town. Where those people live, there's no fire under their houses.
Is there any other coal mines that are burning like Centralia?
There's thousands of them worldwide.
Oh, really?
China, they have a whole province that's on fire. India, you just don't hear about it. The only reason you hear about the Centralia mine fire is because the federal government got involved. Anybody want to hear about the Shenandoah mine fire or the Mount Carmel mine fire?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Everything I told you about the Centralia mine fire, it's all the same thing, just that they dug that out. Every town around here, if anybody knows how that fire got started, every town had a dump. The state made it legal for the towns to dump their trash into the open pits, okay? And once a year, usually around Memorial Day, when they were doing the spring cleaning, the fire company would go down, light the pit on fire, burn off the trash, put the flames out on the surface, and go back home. And it was in a pit. Where's it going to go? They let it smolder till it was out, okay? That's what they did over there. The only problem was there was a hole at the bottom of that pit that ignited the number 5, fine powder, and in turn ignited the main coal.
So you see pictures with back in the day where the smoke was coming out of the
Steam.
sewers or steam, or and the graffiti highway kind of thing. Is that moved on somewhere else and happening anywhere else, or?
I can give you my opinion on that.
Sure.
Don't put it on YouTube.
No.
Back then, the fire, it was burnt very near to the surface, okay? When I was a kid on the graffiti highway, 61, you could go up there and the fire, you could see it glowing. It was glowing, right? That's where the vein outcropped at.
They're really cool.
It was glowing there. People were cooking hot dogs on it, you know? But the government will tell you the reason you don't see steam coming out of the ground is because the fire is burned deeper. The only problem with that is 300 feet down is the water table. And the fire burnt down to that water table 25, 30 years ago. So the part about it being burnt deeper and that's why you're not seeing a lot of steam, I don't buy that. Did it spread? We know it's only spread 4 miles, give or take, in 55 years, so it's kind of loose-ended information there. But some people think it's burning itself out.
I hear 250 to 500 more years.
Nobody knows for sure.
Wow.
That's if it follows the veins of coal for 45 miles. It's only moved 4 miles. You go over there now and they bring up temperatures, it's still burning, but I mean, they're bringing up temperatures of 500, 700 degrees, where back in the 80s and 90s, they were bringing up temperatures of 1500 degrees.
Wow.
You know, and some of the old mining engineers said back in the 60s, that'll burn about 50, 60 years and start to burn out. So it's tough. Nobody really knows.
So when the fire, if what they're saying is true, and the fire is gone deeper into that water base or whatever you're talking
Water
about,
table,
with the water
300
table,
yep.
now would that coal continue to remain lit and just evaporate the water, or would the water eventually put that coal out?
The fire will stop there. It'll make
It
a
would,
natural
eh?
fire break, yeah.
Well, I heard it was so hot there, everything would just like.
No, it'd make a natural fire break. That water table is, you could never, like, once the mine stopped pumping, you're talking about billions of gallons of water. You could never evaporate that water table away.
Okay, well, they were trying to put it out with water from the surface, and that
The
was.
problem with that is, they were pumping the water in from the surface and it was running past the fire.
Oh, I see.
That was the problem with that. Then they tried a fly ash barrier, a wet, slurry fly ash barrier, okay? And some people claim if the contractor would have worked 2 shifts instead of 1, they would have stopped the fire. And I don't know.
Would have kept ahead of it, kind of thing, right?
I don't, yeah, and again, I don't know if I buy that either. They tried the trench. Did that work? No. In the early days, Pagnotti Coal offered to dig the fire out for a couple $100, and the Borough of Centralia said no because the fire's in Cunningham Township. They voted against paying them to dig it out. But it was their dump. But the attitude back then was that fire's over there in the pit. It's not.
That's not our problem now. That's wild. That was wild, eh?
When they lit the dump, they called down to Ashland. Back then you didn't have a comm center, you didn't call 911. They called down to Ashland and asked the borough manager to send a fire truck up. Now this is Memorial Day weekend. They lit the dump on a Wednesday, they're calling down there on like Friday. Can you send a fire truck up? We need more hoses. And our borough manager said, no, it's Memorial Day weekend. The fire's in the pit, we're not gonna ruin the fireman's weekend. Like, it's not anybody's fault, it's just, that's the way it was.
Played out.
Yeah, it's just the way it played out.
Wow. That is really neat.
They dug the fires out and shut it on Mount Carmel real quick though. Once they seen what was going on there. In the 80s, they dug both of those fires out in the 80s.
Wow.
That's enough information for today.
I want to get a picture of this. I got this really good, eh? The whole thing, what he's saying.
He is good.
He's a good tour guide, eh? So that's still, I used to look. 300. It's, I think, you're right underneath the light, that's why it's not going off.
Anywhere near that.
When do you think you have it, Tom? Think of these guys here, right? Can you imagine? Buck Mountain Gangway. Buck Mountain, is that the same one we came from? Huh? And the Poconos?
Yeah, really.
Is that the same? I gotta ask him.
Right, that'll be next weekend. That's my job. I'm the engineer, but I do all the jobs here, but that's normally what I do. Next weekend.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
the Buck, what was it? Buck
Mountain vein.
Buck Mountain? So it got anything to do with the Buck Falls in
Pocono?
the Poconos? No, it doesn't. Okay. I was gonna say, wow, that's a long way.
Funny, the first time we were down here, we chips and oil. Right, we're starting. We got the kids, all right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and then we finally come upon the truck and it said fresh oil and chips.
Yeah.
And that's on the roadway.
Wait a
Is that the reddish pavement that you see?
Well, some of it is, yes. Some of the asphalt has been put down over the years here in Redville too, so. But yeah, up in the Centralia area, it's all oil and chip.
We noticed a difference at a certain point. It goes from black right to red. It looks pretty neat, actually. Okay, we've come to a point where we're not supposed to be. Over here.
I'm a coal mining man. I'm a coal mining man.
Here's the raw material right here. This is the coal that we're mining. It's saying that it burns longer and hotter. Your coal starts with an A, kind of coal they have. But this is the best coal you can have, and it's only found in this region. That's why it went off. It just boomed. The business boomed here. And I'll show you something else. Here is the finished product right here. Pennsylvania coal. There it is. It's anthracite. It's anthracite coal. And these are how they packaged them. So that's what they break it up to. And they throw this into the burners. See? Now it's leaving. So they throw that into the steam engines. And away they go. But that's how they package it.
Bury me right where I stand. I'm a coal mining man. Like my father and my brothers and the others gone before, we dig coal that we can't go till there ain't no coal no more. I'm a coal mining man. I'm a coal mining man. Pick and shovel in my hand. I'm a coal mining man. If I die down in this mine, digging Fairmont number 9, bury me right where I stand. I'm a coal mining man. Read some words and say amen. Here lies a coal mining man. I'm a coal mining man. I'm a coal mining man. Pick and shovel in my hand. I'm a coal mining man. If I die down in this mine, digging Fairmont number 9, bury me right where I stand. I'm a coal mining man. Like my father and my brothers and the others gone before, we dig coal that we can't go till there ain't no coal no more. I'm a coal mining man. I'm a coal mining man. Pick and shovel in my hand. I'm a coal mining man. If I die down in this mine, digging Fairmont number 9, bury me right where I stand. I'm a coal mining man. Read some words and say amen. Here lies a coal mining man.